Have you all heard the French government is literally collapsing right now, and President Macron is begging Africans and Haitians to forgive the French government after decades of bleeding them dry, and here is why.
Breaking news: France's government has officially collapsed. According to BBC, a vote of no confidence dissolved parliament just yesterday. The Prime Minister is gone, Parliament scattered, and this is now the fifth collapse in only 2 years. The reason? A deepening economic crisis. France's debt has skyrocketed to 3.35 trillion euros, climbing at nearly 5,000 euros every second. Protests are erupting, and the public says they've had enough. But here's where it gets even bigger. The roots of this collapse trace back to decades of exploitation in Africa, where 14 countries were forced to hand over 80% of their yearly revenue to France in exchange for independence. Now, nations like Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Senegal have cut ties, shutting off the very lifeline France depended on for decades. Without Africa's resources, France is sinking fast. President Emmanuel Macron is under massive pressure as citizens demand change, accusing his government of leading France into collapse. Protesters say they won't tolerate rising debt, hardship, and failed leadership anymore. Meanwhile, many in Africa see this as justice for decades of exploitation, while European neighbors fear this chaos could spill across the continent. France, once a pillar of Europe, now faces political chaos, economic disaster, and a nation that no longer trusts its leaders.
Bon, alors pourquoi vous me faites dire ça? Donc, moi je vous dis, tout le monde se bat. Vous avez vécu quelque chose de terrible. Tout le monde se bat, quelle que soit la couleur de peau. Et n'opposez pas les gens. N'opposez pas les gens. Si vous opposez les gens, on est foutus. Parce que vous êtes contents d'être en France. Parce que si c'était pas la France, pour vous dire, vous seriez 10 000 fois plus dans la merde. Il n'y a pas un endroit de l'océan Indien où on aide autant les gens. C'est la réalité. Et donc, on ne peut pas vouloir être un département français et dire que ça ne marche pas dès que la France est en solidarité. Quel est l'autre territoire de cette région comme ailleurs qui livre de l'eau, du fret, des soignants comme on le fait ici? Alors il faut que tout le monde se respecte. Mais bon sang, on tiendra jusqu'au bout si on est une équipe. Et donc vous avez un choix simple. Vous êtes une équipe ou vous divisez.
France is now ungovernable. You better believe it. France is now ungovernable. The country that actually made its money from bleeding black people. The country that forced Haiti to pay 150 billion for their freedom. And one of the reasons why Haiti is still in the situation it is right now is because of France. France, the country that bled Africa, making sure that the countries that it colonized basically had to pay a colonial tax for being colonized. That country, you know, the country that one of the biggest slave traders in the world, that country has run out of money. They cannot afford to pay the pensions. They cannot afford the healthcare system. Literally, France is literally on the verge of economic collapse. And this is serious. France is in worse trouble than Greece was, except at the time the European Union was so powerful at the time. But now, the European Union was weakened by Brexit. The European Union has been weakened by Trump turning against them. So now the European Union, they're just running around like headless chickens. They cannot even bail France out. France is literally on the verge of collapse. And coming close after France is going to be the UK and Germany.
As well, never in a million years did I believe that this investigation would lead us to this moment. And I am not even referring to the lawsuit. I'm referring to something much bigger. Foremost, I should let you guys know that it was announced just 3 hours ago that the French government has collapsed. Oh, okay. Yeah, there it is. New York Times. French government collapses again, deepening paralysis. But I don't want you guys to get distracted because I think it is sort of a distraction a little bit. They don't want you watching Becoming Brigitte Season 2. I personally think Emmanuel Macron wants out. No, instead, they're telling the French people, take to the streets. I hope by now you guys realize that these decisions, like who is going to be president and when, those decisions are actually made in a boardroom. If you don't understand that, then I hope you will by the end of this episode. So welcome back to Becoming Brigitte.
Réveille-toi, le pouvoir est à toi. Français, réveille-toi, le pouvoir est à toi.
So France is broke because African countries have kicked them out and they don't allow them to exploit them anymore. And as you saw, there's a big rally in the country. They're protesting the president Macron. They want him out. Yesterday they voted out the prime minister, which was the third prime minister in 14 months. He got a vote of no confidence. The same last three, because the last three prime ministers cannot present a bill or cannot present a plan on how to revitalize the French economy. Now, the only way to present a plan to revitalize the French economy is by re-enslaving or re-exploiting African countries. And Russia is helping African countries. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, they're building nuclear plants. Like, it's helping African countries. That's Russia's plan of fucking up the West. So the West is using a proxy war to destroy Russia. Russia is deciding, okay, I'm going to take away your means of living. So Russia has been saving African countries from France. And they have a planned demonstration tomorrow, the 10th. Wednesday, the whole nation is going to have this massive demonstration tomorrow in protest of Macron. But yeah, France is broke. And everything they're doing right now, a lot of the French understand it, but majority of the masses don't. Everything they're doing right now, nothing can be done. The only way France goes back to where it used to be is to find new countries to exploit for resources. That's it. France has nothing. They have nothing. England is next. Oh, I also forgot to add, this is why France has been pushing for a war with Russia. France has gotten 26 countries right now to agree to invade, to go into Ukraine, which is going to be a violation, which will force a war with Russia. The reason France wants this is if it does that, then Russia is now faced with more problems, more wars. Then it takes away some of its resources from Africa. It creates new chaos, and then France uses that as an opportunity to go back into Africa and then find new countries to exploit. The only way France can survive is exploitation. So they need war right now to make that exploitation happen.
France is falling. Chaos hits the streets as rioters flood onto the Paris streets. The Prime Minister's lost the confidence of the people, and their big fiscal black hole has become a massive issue, to the point that riot police are being rolled out. And it won't be long, I'm sure, because we know what the French are like when they like to go on strike. Say no more. It could get very hectic very soon. France is the second biggest economic powerhouse of the EU. When we left, we were on joint terms, I suppose, with Germany. I'd say England first, UK first, right? Then Germany, then France, and then behind that you go Italy, Portugal, Spain. But the economies get ever increasingly weaker, and without a thriving France and a thriving Germany, the EU's in turmoil. So maybe now the effects of Brexit are just coming through and the EU are suffering some major issues. In other news, guys, let me know what you guys think, because, of course, as far as I see it, the French are going to go crazy. The French government could end up with a new election. We could get rid of Macron and see Marine Le Pen come in and take power. That would shift everything. We may be better for us, leading into a reform winning in three years' time, because they're going to work better than Labour are going to work with a different French government. Other news, just while we're there, I thought this was breaking news on Sky. Prince Harry's meeting up with King Charles. Ooh, they haven't met for a while. Lord Mandelson, his best mate, won't say his name. He's regretting staying friends with him for as long as he did afterwards, but hopefully Keir Starmer can turn a blind eye to that. I'm sure he will. And what else is happening? I think that'll do for now. Let me know what you guys think. Do the French really care if they've got a massive fiscal black hole? Will it bring down the rest of Europe if the French economy comes to a grinding halt? Will they not just borrow more money from the IMF or from the EU? Because at the end of the day, the EU never submits any accounts, so they can give France a load of money and no one would know anyway. Or is it just French being French, and actually the French have no intentions of paying it back anyway? That was a terrible French accent. No, it was not. And what is that? I just love all this accent. Anyway, guys, let me know and I'll talk to you soon.
Oh my god. Everybody needs to know what is happening in France. France is in a very big trouble. They have a debt of $3.1 trillion and their debt is increasing by every second. The government of France has just collapsed. This is after the Prime Minister of France was voted a vote of no confidence. Of recent, there has been a lot of protest in France, and the people in France are dissatisfied by how the government is conducting itself. And they are saying that the next person who must be ousted out of France is Emmanuel Macron. So from the time France was chased out of Africa, it has been facing a lot of difficulties. This is because their main source of income was coming from Africa. It is in Africa where they were getting cheap minerals to run their companies, and also all their African colonies were using their currencies, and that is how they were getting half of all the money they make in those colonies. But of recent, France has been chased out of Africa, and France is now facing a major economic problem. It is now starting to collapse, and they are saying this could be the start of so many collapse in Europe.
This is like déjà vu for President Emmanuel Macron. For the 5th time in less than 2 years, he has to find a new prime minister to replace François Bayrou after he lost a vote of confidence last night here at the National Assembly. Will he go this time for the technocratic choice, or will he go perhaps for a socialist figure? At least that's what the moderate left wing is calling for. The socialists are saying they are ready to govern. The problem is that the socialists' budget would be watered down with less savings than what François Bayrou was planning for. So perhaps the reaction on the market was muted last night when François Bayrou's government collapsed. But the long-term trajectory of France's public finances is still, of course, going to weigh on the bond market and domestic stocks in France for the next 18 months until we see a new presidential elections that is at the moment planned for 2027. We could perhaps see a sort of non-aggression pact between the center and the moderate left wing, even if that means losing some of the Republicans, the moderate right wing, from the next government. Perhaps this time for France is the time to have a coalition government, even if it's not exactly in the spirit of French politics.
Nemesis is catching up with the colonizers because the French government is one of the largest slave traders in the world, right? They've been siphoning almost 80% of countries in Africa, such as Senegal, Benin, Togo, and Burkina Faso. Right? All these African countries have stopped remitting 80% of their resources to French government, and now the French government are in need of help right now. That's why they are begging the Haitians and the Africans, right? The Africans completely stopped providing all those things to them, and now they can barely pay their debt. Their pension is unpayable. Their healthcare is dying literally because they do not have money to do all those things. Haiti is the way it is because of the French government, right? And Haiti has remitted almost $150 billion to the French government. That's why Haiti is in turmoil, economic turmoil right now, and they have no way of getting out of it, So because of that, the French government is literally collapsing, and now they are trying to oust President Macron. Africans are finally waking up to what they've suffered for the longest time, and is paying back time. So guys, what do you think? Please drop your thoughts in the comment, and if you haven't subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button, hit on the like button, hit on the notification button in order not to miss any of these breaking updates. See you in the next one. Have a blessed day.